And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Hope you're having yourselves a tremendous morning this morning and a hopefully very happy Easter holiday you all had. So happy Easter once again. It is Easter Monday, so some of you have the day off. Some of you don't. If you're at work, then we're here with you. If you got the day off, then we're still here with you. So hope you're having a fantastic Easter weekend, celebrating our risen Lord and celebrating something that is so much bigger than us, so much more important than anything we could ever think of, dream of, or worry about. And I hope that you have taken some time today to remember that there's something beautiful out there, and his name is God. So thank you, Christ, for rising. And I, this really hit me in a unique way when I was going through these last couple weeks, and I found out on Palm Sunday, and I didn't know this, Jesus was crucified at 9 o'clock in the morning. And Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock in the morning is important to the show, right? And it hit home for me to think about that and reflect on that. And to know just the weight of a little, knowing a little bit of information like that. So I hope that yesterday it wasn't just about Easter bunnies and chocolate. I hope that yesterday you reflected on the things that are truly important in life. And, we welcome people here on the show of all religions, no religion, you know that. But in my life, in my world, in my heart, I serve one God. And yesterday was a beautiful reminder of how incredible that is and how special that is, and a sacrifice that was made for everybody, regardless of who you are. So I just want to thank God for that. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, we bring you through every single week, starting off the week with Murph. And so Murph is here with me this morning. He's going to be with me for the first hour. In hour number 2 at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be joined by Hodge, a.k.a. Hodge, who will be joining us for an all-new cereal combo episode where we talk about sports over our cereal concoctions that we create in the morning. And we're going to have some fun as she's coming off of her experience in Albany, New York at the 2024 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Tournament, and seeing my favorite player, Caitlin Clark, up close. So we'll talk with Hodge in just a little bit here around 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Before that, Murph and I will be here with DT and Murphy speaking on Major League Baseball's start to their season, which officially started off just a few days ago. Very excited. Last Thursday started off. So happy baseball season. Back to the diamond. We'll discuss that. We'll also get into the NFL moves that are on our minds and show and tell with sports cards, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. I'm coming off of our most recent trade night, and I have some cool things to show. So with that being said, let's bring Murph in here picture in picture and wish him a very happy Easter and a very happy day of the risen Lord. Murph, how we doing, sir?
And to you as well. We are in the soggy state of New Jersey at the moment.
Yeah.
The plan was to play some golf today. We did that yesterday, but don't think it's going to happen. But it'll be okay. We still this is our home away from home, so it's always nice to be away from it all for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, I mean, you have a nice home in your other home. You're kind of tucked away, which is a beautiful thing. I think we all need that, especially in today's world. I think we all need that house that's a little bit away from all the other stuff. So, how did you celebrate Easter with? And by the way, happy Easter to your parents as well. Two wonderful people that welcomed me in with open arms just a few weeks back. So, shout out to Mom and Dad Murphy. How'd you celebrate Easter?
Well, we watched a little bit of basketball.
Okay.
We had So I think my mom made these turkey tenderloin things, which are actually kind of good. And then so my brother was here. We went out and played 18 holes at the little par 3 course that we have in here.
Yeah.
Myself and my brother both proceeded to hit a house. Um, no damage or anything, but we did hit houses.
Yeah.
My dad's the only one that didn't, so we kind of rubbed on him a little bit for that. And he's over there on the couch, so he probably hears me talking about it. But no, it was a great time. Then my mom made shrimp spaghetti for dinner, and we hung out, had dessert. It was just a nice day getting my brother here, and you know had a good time.
Good. Well, happy Easter to all of you once again. Hope it was truly special. So I'm happy to be here this morning to talk about a lot of different things. Major League Baseball has officially started off, and I had a nice way of going into this season differently than I had before. Was at Syracuse Mets Media Day, and over at
Saw
Syracuse,
that.
yeah, it was fun. So going to Syracuse Mets Media Day and getting to walk through the tunnel and come out of the dugout onto the field just like the players do. First time I got to do that. First time I've ever done that on a baseball field for, any team of professionals. And coming out and getting to be a part of watching their practice, seeing this season come to fruition, and get to talk with the manager, get to speak with Dick Scott, the manager of the Syracuse Mets, one step away from the New York Mets here in AAA baseball, and to speak with prospect Drew Gilbert. And while I was sitting there with him, and then I talked to somebody about it afterwards, they're like, "Wow, man, you got so like Drew's a big prospect, like that's awesome, da da da." And all I could think about in my head was Murph going, "Hey, if you get some cards, just have him sign this."
Oh man.
So,
I
but
mean, hey, I would have taken a baseball.
yeah, I mean, to
To be
me,
honest, as much as
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I love, I love the experience, and I think it's so cool, and that's what I talked to Dick Scott about with, the manager of the Syracuse Mets is how much fun it is to come out to a game. It costs you a few dollars, and you have the opportunity to meet these players, get their autographs, and they can turn around and be the next huge prospect, the next Hall of Famer. You never know
Mhm.
who you're going to meet. And from when I was a little kid with the Florida Manatees in connection with the now Miami Marlins were the Florida Marlins, it's so much fun. I mean, I still have that baseball that was signed by like 13 different guys, and you never know what you're going to get or who you're going to meet. And I think people should be coming out to these games because you have the opportunity to see major league players that come down as well as prospects that are looking to go up, and you're seeing them for a few dollars. You can
Mhm.
get to them and access them a heck of a lot easier. Walk down there, shake hands with them, have them sign a baseball, have them take a picture with you. And I just think that experience is so cool. I mean, we've had Cecil Fielder come through here. We've had Deion Sanders this year. Mark Vientos is here. JD's gonna be coming through as well. Acuna. So and last year I think there was 30 some odd players that came through Syracuse that at some point went up to the New York Mets. So I just I can't stress enough that it's an opportunity for you to meet the next big star, and it's for a few dollars and to get an
Yeah.
autograph, which I think is great. Because after talking to Drew, I thought it was wonderful, but then like I had people talking to me afterwards about Drew, and they're like, "Oh man, like this is this and this is that," and to me, I'm like, "Oh man, I should go get his autograph." But
Hmm.
it's just a really fun experience, and it's cool because when you come into town, maybe we can sneak over for a game.
Absolutely. You don't have to tell me twice about that. I mean, my thing is I'm being 45 minutes from um, two different AAA baseball teams. You have the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders up north. We have Valley Iron Pigs down south. I should go to more Iron Pigs games this summer. I could probably walk there from work if I really wanted to. Um, but I've been to games. I've been going to games ever since I was a kid, and for like $7, you can get general admission tickets where you could just get into the stadium. You could go into um, you go sit out in the grass, out in right field or out in center field, and just enjoy the game. And half the time you can go sit somewhere down the left field line or down the first base line, and the ushers aren't going to say anything because there's nobody sitting there anyway,
Yeah.
right? So you could end up going to have a seat or whatever. Now you can't really find the like sitting behind home plate. Now I would like to do that this year at some point, like try and get first row behind home plate at some point, just to say I did it at a professional game, especially with how much it is at like a Major League Baseball game. It's probably $20 at a Rail Riders or an Iron Pigs game. But um, it's a great time. I don't know if you can hear that music in the background. I think that's a commercial
I can't.
or something,
I can't.
but it's very loud.
Yeah, no, I can't. It was funny because I just had a conversation with Scott Cassidy, the Lemoyne baseball head coach, and they just had their first series sweep of their season here where they are returning to Division One. And in this series sweep that they just had, him and I were doing our interview, and they had they had turned the music down during the time that we were having our interview. And I mean, it was the end of the game and this and that. So the music went down a bit. And I said, okay, we're doing our thing. We're enjoying this. As we're talking, like right when we started, the music went up, started blaring. So you can hear
Oh
him, but
boy.
he's talking to me. And I'm like, great, Facebook's going to pick this up because Facebook is always worried about things they shouldn't worry about and don't pay attention to the things that matter. And so they're like, and then YouTube was like, this is copyright material, but we're going to allow you to play it. I'm like, dude, it's background music. You can see what I'm doing. You can see who I'm interviewing, but they just decided to play a song in the background that was a well-known song. So, that happens. I mean, I feel like YouTube and Facebook and these things should be privy to the fact that sometimes there's music playing when there's people around. And you can obviously tell it's in the background. But yeah, I cannot hear your music this morning, Murph, so you're okay. I can't hear anything.
Whatever it is on the TV, I think my parents are watching something, but it's quite loud.
So,
I don't think it's even meant to be loud too. It might just be the show itself. I don't think it's a commercial. Um,
so what
but
is?
yeah,
No, I was gonna say. So let's jump into baseball season. We've had some series start. Very excited for the opportunity of seeing some teams out there. My Diamondbacks won the series 3 out of 4 games, won 3-1 against the Colorado Rockies. Started off the season with a 16-run game, winning 16-1 in their first game of 2024, showing that those bats, those snakes alive bats that they had in the postseason, was not a fluke, a very real thing for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They had a 10-run inning in that game. They backed it up with a victory, then lost a close one, then got another victory. So, and the Mets got rained out day one, but got to come in day two, which was on Friday. And
we don't need to talk about them.
But that's why I started off with a positive. I figured you were going to be angry today. So, what are your thoughts on the start to the Major League Baseball season? The Yankees pulled off a very nice run against the Houston Astros. So, what's your take on the start to baseball?
New Year, same old Mets. No,
Next
um,
question.
yeah. Honestly, like there's nothing to take away from that series that says I'm optimistic that they're going to be good. Like
Okay.
three guys, the Alvarez looked good, Beatty looked good, Martes looked okay. Other than that, like the pitching hasn't been good. The rest of the lineup's been bad. I, I'm not optimistic right now. Obviously it's only 3 games, anything can happen, but it's not a great start. First time the Mets have gone 0-3 to start the year since 2014, so not ideal. But across the rest of the league, I mean, you had D-backs took 3 out of 4 from the Rockies. The Yankees, I believe, swept the Astros in 4 games,
Yeah.
which is awfully impressive. What I will get a giggle, what I do still get a giggle out of, was opening day, first game. Mike Trout hits a home run in the first inning. So the Angels are up 1-0. First run of the year, first home run of the year. And let's see. No, where is it? No, that's not it. That's not what I wanted. This one.
Yeah, he hit a
Yeah,
hole.
and they lost 11-3.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that was kind of brutal. So, they were whew, that was that was rough for the Angels. I really do feel for Mike Trout, man. I don't know what he's still doing there. I guess loyalty, but you know,
Yeah.
you know, uh, the Rangers took 2 out of 3 from the Cubbies. They lost on Sunday, but Wyatt Langford with a pretty solid opening weekend in the big leagues. Let me just pull up his stat line here from the weekend. 4 for 12 for 333 batting average. He's got his first triple, so 4 hits with a run scored, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, only 3 strikeouts. Pretty solid start to the year for the kid.
Yeah.
Jackson Chourio for the Rangers, for the Brewers looked pretty good in the opening series against the Mets, showing off his speed, his glove in right field as well. So he looks good. The kids are doing it, man. There's been a couple prospects that have come up and looked pretty good, and a couple young guys that have looked pretty good. And then Mookie Betts, man, how about the start to the season he's got? 4 home runs already. He's got, let's see. I should have probably had that ready when I was going to bring him up. But Mookie Betts already with 4 home runs, 11 for 22. So he's batting a cool 500. 2 doubles, 9 runs scored, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 7 walks, only 2 strikeouts, 621 OBP, 1757 OPS in 6 games. He has hit a home run in all but 2 games. That is a red hot start to the year.
Yeah.
For Mookie Betts, especially considering he is starting the season playing shortstop for the first time in his big league career. So, really good start for them. The Dodgers in general, Dodgers played on Sunday Night Baseball last night, came back and beat the Cardinals. So, they were down, I think it was 4-0 in the 6th inning, and then they came back. Teoscar Hernandez hit an RBI double. Teoscar Hernandez eventually hit a home run in the 8th, and then Max Muncy hit a go-ahead home run in the bottom of the 8th to give them the lead for good. So that was a great game on Sunday night. But it was a great opening weekend. I was thrilled to see baseball again. Now it'll be nice to be able to have baseball again for the next 6 months, and looking forward to another great year. Hopefully the Mets can figure it out. Otherwise, it'll be a long year for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, a lot of good news. Mookie Betts, the way he started. I got to give a shout out to Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who obviously is one of the guys that the Diamondbacks made sure that they extended and kept there. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. starting off the season with 10 RBIs through 4 games, 5 in the first game of the 2024 season in a 16-1 win over the Rockies. 5 runs in that game, or RBIs, I should say. 5 RBIs, then 1, then 2, then 2, giving him 10. He has 3 home runs on the season already, hitting a home run in 3 out of 4 games so far. So Lourdes Gurriel Jr. doing an incredible job, and there's a bunch of great stuff to talk about, but I keep reminding people that the Diamondbacks have had this success last season and started off with some heat offensively this season without having Jordan Lawler in the lineup. So, I keep putting that in the background, and people are trying to get some Lawler cards, and I've definitely gathered them over the last year or so for when he does come up. But I'm excited.
He's hurt, I think, right? Didn't he hurt himself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I think the whole plan was that he was going to find his way up. So as of right now, I mean, if I could check the latest on Jordan Lawler and where he's at.
I think he's hurt.
He's out at least 2 weeks or 2 months, pardon me. after having right thumb surgery.
Oh,
So
that's right. He had I think he had a torn UCL in his thumb or something.
yeah, the team's director of player development, Sean Larkin, had stated that he's going to be out for at least 2 months. He had
Yep.
been optioned to minor league camp when he suffered the injury to his right thumb, which occurred when he tried to pick up a ball with his throwing hand in a minor league spring game. And so the injury will keep him out 8 to 10 weeks, which means he won't probably be an option for the Diamondbacks at Major League until mid season. He was the number 4 prospect in baseball, and so we're hoping to see him at some point soon. More than anything, we're hoping that he gets healthy. But that's a guy that's waiting in the wings, folks. We talk about
Hmm.
Gabriel Moreno. We speak on Lourdes Gurriel Jr., of course Corbin Carroll, and so on and so forth. But here's this hopeful potential young ace in the hole that's hanging out in the wings as of right now. So, and the fact that they went out and got Montgomery, who pitched against them in the World Series last year, and got him right before the season started from the Texas Rangers. So, I wanted them to get one pitcher. They got two, and they kept pretty much the entire team together from last season to this season. So, it's been exciting. And the Syracuse Mets also started off their season, so that's been really cool.
Yeah, Drew and was it Drew Gilbert and Baby Acuna both hit home runs in that first game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I love the nickname Baby Acuna. I really do.
I know. I know. I feel so bad saying it, but I mean, what could we say? He's Baby Acuna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something different.
Hopefully he's like half the player his older brother is. Because if that's the case, the Mets won that trade big time.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I mean, it is. This is an exciting start to the season. Obviously, 162 regular season games, so we got a long road to go. But there's a lot of excitement to be had. The Diamondbacks unveiled their National League champion rings in Game 2 of this season. Gave them to the players and put them out there for us to look at them. And I put that up on our social media, so make sure you check out the intricacies of those rings on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Murph and I are going to jump from one field to the next and talk about the NFL. Do you have any final notes, Murph, about Major League Baseball's opening before we take a step aside and jump to the NFL?
Well, not Major League Baseball's opening season here, but college baseball, SEC, Florida Gators have taken 2 out of 3 from each of their first 3 conference opponents. They took 2 out of 3 from Texas A&M, then the defending national champions LSU,
Yeah.
and then they just beat Mississippi State 2 out of 3. Jack Caglino with a walk-off homer in Game 3. So safe to say it's a good time to be a Gator fan.
Yeah.
Go Gators.
There you go. Go Gators. They're showing up all over the place, them Gators. So very exciting. Do want to make a note here. We are, during this week, and obviously talk about the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about the women's tournament with Caitlin Hodge Mahalis in hour number 2. Of course, I have covered the tournament all the way through from the beginning, just as we have done for many years, covered this NCAA tournament. So you can see all of my Q&As with student athletes and coaches by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and the notification bell, and you could find our NCAA tournament playlist to hear from so many teams all across our great land, including last night. You can hear from the NC State Wolfpack student athletes as well as their head coach Kevin Keats upon advancing to the Final Four as an 11 seed. And people stop asking them if they're tired, finally. So that's been a good thing. We'll take a step aside.
They're probably pretty tired.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Hey, listen. All I know
What
is
a run for them, man.
they have outlasted Duke in the ACC tournament, outlasted Duke in the NCAA tournament. They have taken out team after team after team after team. And, I mean, DJ Burns is a monster inside. If he's your monster, you love it. If it's not, you're looking at him going, man, that guy fouls out every play. But DJ Burns has been a dog through this thing. DJ Horn, Michael O'Connell, Casey Morcell, and on and on and on and on and on. This NC State Wolfpack team should be the representative of the ACC because, I mean, you look at Duke. Duke had a pretty good season, and they were kind of flying a little bit under the radar. North Carolina was a weaker number 1 seed. Clemson was heartbreaking because of that team, their faith, their connection. Joe Girard at the end of the game, down by 6 or 7 points. Guy's banging threes.
Oh my God.
He has.
Did you see that point? It was in was the third quarter or no, not third quarter. It's 6 or 7 minutes to go in the second half. It was Girard and one other guy from Clemson, and then the guys from who'd they play? Forget who
Alabama.
Alabama. Thank you. They were just trading threes.
Yeah.
For 2 minutes straight.
Yeah.
It's Clemson would hit one, then Alabama would hit one, and it was back and forth for 2 or 3 minutes on the court. It was actually kind of impressive.
Yeah. No, the guy. I mean, he's incredible. He's shooting a three from he's well beyond the arc. Guys trying to guard him. He moves back and he just throws it up. He's staring at the rim. It goes down, and it's okay, now we're down by 4. Now we're down by 7. Whatever it may be. Just a clutch player. PJ Hall has been absolutely incredible. The Hunter brothers. I mean, that team, obviously Chef out there doing his thing, and the fans wearing the Chef hats for him. The Clemson Tigers were a feel-good story. NC State is as well. Would have been great to see both of those feel-good stories in, but there's also another feel-good story that the Alabama Crimson Tide and Nate Oates, who I had the opportunity to speak with last season and this season, I mean, he is enjoying leading the Alabama Crimson Tide to their first ever Final Four. UConn is blowing teams out by 30+. You got NC State, who nobody thought was going to be there except for NC State. I think it was 1.88% of brackets. Then you have Alabama, who's never made it before. And then you have Purdue, who's trying to do what Virginia did years ago, which is lose to a 16 seed and come back and win the entire tournament the exact next year. So
hey, that's why I picked them.
Yeah.
That's why I picked. Hey, if they – so I'm looking at my brackets right now in my pool. If they and UConn play in the championship game and Purdue wins,
yeah,
I'm 99% sure I will win the pool for the second year in a row. It could happen.
Yeah.
UConn Purdue is extremely likely. As much as you don't want to play NC State right now, the one team that matches up well with them is Purdue. I mean, with Zach Edey underneath, that's the one team that matches up pretty well with NC State.
Well,
that'll be a tough.
Yeah.
And hell, if NC State wins that game, I'm all for it. Give them credit.
Yeah.
If they go on to win the national championship as an 11 seed, first of all, that is the ultimate Cinderella story. A double-digit seed winning the national championship.
Yeah.
It's never been done before. The lowest seed to ever get to the national championship game, I think, is an 8 seed. I think an 8 seed's won before.
I was going to say 8 seed. I think George Mason was at 10, but they didn't win.
Yeah, I don't know if they got to the championship, though, because I was looking at this yesterday. I think there was 4 8 seeds that have made the national championship. Butler, UNC, Kentucky, and there was somebody else. I don't remember who else it was. Maybe it was UConn.
I think UConn was in the mix.
I think it was UConn.
I think UConn. I think they talked.
Still, that would be something else if NC State can go there and get it done. If I don't win my pool, if NC State beats Purdue, I am rooting so hard for NC State.
Yeah,
I will be. As much as I appreciate what UConn did for me last year, made me a lot of money. I would be very much rooting hard for NC State. And I think most people would be too. And it's not that there's anything against UConn. You just want to see the Cinderella win.
So let me throw this at you folks, and I'll correct myself in Villanova being the other team. I'm going to give you some March Madness history. 8 is the lowest seed to win a national championship. It happened in my birth year, but I wasn't born yet. And I always joke around with people that maybe God held me from maybe God held me from coming out of my mother's womb until after this happened, because Villanova won the national championship that year, and we all know about Syracuse versus Villanova. So I did not see it because I wasn't alive yet. But back in 1985, Villanova was the lowest seed to win a national championship as an 8 seed. 11 is the lowest seed to make the Final Four. LSU did it in 1986. George Mason in 2006. I thought they were 10 seed, so they were an 11 seed. VCU in 2011. Loyola Chicago in 2018. UCLA in 2021. And now NC State in 2024. 15 is the lowest seed to make the men's Elite Eight, which was St. Peter's in 2022. And 15 is the lowest seed to make the men's Sweet 16. Princeton in 2023, St. Peter's in 2022, Oral Roberts in 2021, and Florida Gulf Coast, the Fly Slam, that like Jam City thing that they had, Florida Gulf Coast back in 2013. So,
was this like the first year that we didn't have a major 15 or 16 seed upset in like the last 5 years?
I mean, if you go and you look back at this year's tournament, we've had.
I mean, we had the 14. We had Oakland beat Kentucky, but
yeah, you had Oakland.
You usually see a 14 seed win.
Yeah, you had Oakland.
That's like
Kentucky.
Just about every year. Yeah, but we were starting to see a lot of 15 seeds winning games, and even seeing the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson win a game last year. It's not the most uncommon thing anymore.
Well,
but this year I don't think we saw it.
The 16 seed has won twice ever, and it's been in recent history. The 15 seed, Syracuse fans remember Richmond Spiders defeated Syracuse when they were a 15 seed back in the day. And I talked to one of the former Syracuse players that told me that they still cannot watch that game. And this year it didn't happen.
I wouldn't want to either.
Yale was I believe 13 seed this year when I picked them to win, and they won. So we have seen the 13 over the 4. I think Ohio was a 13. Oh no, Ohio was a 14 when they beat Georgetown a few years back when Georgetown was a 3. So we had upsets this year. We had almost.
I just
upsets.
didn't think we had the same magnitude of upsets that we have had. Well, I think we were spoiled in recent years.
Well, we didn't have.
Right? We had St. Peter's, we had Fairleigh Dickinson, we had Oral Roberts, you had, who was the other? Loyola Chicago was an 11 seed, but even still, we were spoiled with upsets for probably 3 or 4 years there. Now, a 14 beating a 3 happens, you see it. 13 beating a 4 happens. You usually get one of those a year.
Yeah.
But we didn't get any of the 15 over 2s or any of those this year. Obviously, 16 over 1 has only ever happened twice.
Yeah.
But if Purdue does win the national championship, mark it on your calendars, folks. The next time a number 1 seed loses to a number 16 seed, you better pick that team to win the national championship next year.
Yeah. And you almost think about, they've had to, if they paid attention to anything, they know that they've been publicly ridiculed for a year. And that fuel, that's what people don't understand. They think that when you talk bad about somebody and you're disrespectful and you're rude and you're hateful and you're mean, you think that person's going to QUIT. You think that person's going to lay down. The worst thing that you can do to a person who is going to use that as fuel is to continue to fill the tank. And in Purdue's case, all year long, Zach Edey, look at this coach, look at these players, look at what they've been through. They couldn't this, they couldn't that. What a laughingstock. FDU, the darling, over and over and over again. If they ever do a 30 for 30 and Purdue wins this thing, I'm sure there's going to be the audio of them reading off the headlines of articles. They're going to be showing Zach Edey with his head down. They're going to say, ridiculed team. There's going to be sound bites of all this stuff, and there's going to be a montage of things hitting your screen and close-ups of articles, and then showing what they turned around and they did. The disrespect, folks, people don't understand this. Throwing people into the fire makes those people grow. You can grow, you can advance. When you throw me into the fire, it's like putting the Hulk in there. You're like, okay, I'm going to give the Hulk something else to get hulked out about, something else to get bigger about. If Purdue handles this thing the way that would be the exact opposite of the expectation, then, they are a force. There's also the reality of the fact that Zach Edey is enjoying something that is very unique because college basketball made it so. They tried to eradicate the center So now nobody knows how to guard Zach Edey because there's not a lot of true centers anymore. And now he's in this world of his own where if he played 15 years ago, he'd be going up against a bunch of guys that are playing like him. But that's not the case right now. That's why he's hard to guard. But Filipowski, for being as big as that man is, DJ Burns Jr. knocked him around. Got it. Filipowski fouled out of the game yesterday, and Mark Mitchell also fouled out of the game with 6 points at the time. So there's something to be said about that. But there is a shout out to UMBC over Virginia, the 16 seed, and FDU in 2023, UMBC in 2018, the only 16 seeds to ever win. I think at the time it was 100-something to 0 for 1 seeds against 16 seeds. In the last 6 years, we've seen it happen twice when it didn't happen for decades before that. So we will take a step aside for a fast break. The tournament has led us to the Final Four. The women's side will decide their Final Four incomplete as of today. So it will be a completed Final Four. We'll know who's going to be. What'd you say?
Let's go Iowa.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Please. Please, for the love of God.
You know who's sitting here.
Shut Angel Reese up. And beat them. Please.
You know who's sitting in the room all the time. So Miss Caitlin
I
Clark.
really hope they tell Angel Reese to stick it and then kick their butt. I want it to be a blowout. I want Iowa to beat them by 30.
Well, we will have a rematch of the national championship happening in Albany, New York tonight, as LSU will face off against Iowa. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I will be in Albany tomorrow. That was the whole thing, is am I going to go to Albany twice or am I going to sleep there? Because I will be in Albany tomorrow.
You should just go sleep there.
Oh, because my thing
go to the game.
I'll be in
and
Albany,
then sleep there.
I'll be in Albany tomorrow for Jerry McNamara's introductory press conference with the Siena Saints as their head coach. So I will be there with Jerry tomorrow and see Jerry's World extend out to Albany if it hadn't already, which I'm excited about. But yes, I've been. I
mean, how much are tickets to the game?
I
want to find out.
Some people have told me, hey, they're not bad, and some people have been like, nah. Last year, I brought my dad to Albany.
Let's find out.
Those tickets were very expensive. I think last year, for my dad and I to go and sit together, when this was for so. They were
$180 for nosebleeds.
Yeah, $180. They were $60. So not a cheap thing, but
hey, you should see if you can get some media credentials.
Well,
I know it might be late, but
I have access to the press conference, so I do have that either way, and I'm going to try and
see if you can get access to the game.
Hop on.
Then you go for free.
Yeah, we shall see. But it's been a lot of travel. It's been a lot of running around for me.
Well, true. I mean, but if you're going there anyway,
I know. Even more reason. I know, but the sleeping there the rest of the week, trust me, my heart wants to be there. My mind is saying, here are all the things I have to prepare for when I'm going to be out of town doing X, Y, and Z. So in order to do all of that creatively and effectively, there's some things that I have to do. I also was going to go down, and I was like, well, if I go down, I'm going to stay, and I couldn't stay because of Easter. So that's the other side of it, too. I was like, I'm not going to go down Saturday and not see my parents on Sunday. So it's been the back and forth of, what am I going to do? I would love to be there. I've covered women's sports since 2003, which is when I started my career. So from the beginning of the beginning, Marywood University was there. And I was doing NCAA tournament broadcasts for men's and women's basketball. I would love to see it. I would. And I'm trying to be effective with my scheduling. There's a lot of things going on right now at the same time. And it's been great. I'm not going to complain about it at all. But between baseball season and softball season and the men's tournament, the women's tournament, plus everything that had gone on with Lemoyne women's basketball advancing to a national tournament in their first season, there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening at the same time, and you got to pick and choose your travels. But I definitely hope it's an incredible game. And,
I still hope it's a blowout. I hope Iowa blows their doors off.
I would like to see Iowa win a national championship in Caitlin Clark's swan song. It's been my feeling since before the tournament started, and I would love to actually get to see something like that happen. So we'll see.
I want to see Caitlin Clark when they're beating LSU by 30. Just wave goodbye to Angel Reese.
I don't want to see that because
I want to see that.
I don't want to see it because what Angel Reese did to her last year.
That pissed me off last year.
Right, but you got to be the bigger you got to be the bigger person. So I don't want Caitlin to turn into Angel. And Angel last year,
I don't think she's going to. She doesn't seem like that type of person. But still, that would be awesome to see.
While LSU was
a little bit of payback
celebrating last year, Angel decided to not celebrate with her team, so that she could taunt Caitlin Clark for 12 seconds. So, and people made it all these things that it's not. It was disrespect of a player, regardless of color, regardless of gender, regardless of background, regardless of anything. It was something that I would never do. I would never think about doing. And I said, I'm a peaceful person. If I was Caitlin Clark, my teammates would have had to hold me back. I'm like, this woman's in my face, pointing at her ring finger while I have to sit here and hold my knees and see this clock run down. I mean, in a heartbreaking moment, you have somebody taunting you. That, to me, that's some demonic stuff. So I don't appreciate it. I don't like it.
That's why I think America would love it if she did that.
I just want to see Caitlin Clark do it because I want to see Caitlin Clark and her team. I have respect for her coach. I mean, I want to see Iowa do it because who was Iowa before Caitlin Clark and the crew? I mean, who were they? Who were they in the Big Ten? Who were they nationally? I want to see Caitlin Clark win a championship. Like I wanted to see Breanna Stewart win a championship. It's just something about those players that you can't help but root for, and Caitlin Clark's one of those players. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Murph and I will talk a little bit about the NFL, and I have some really interesting cards to show, including my first one-of-one pull ever. That's all coming up here where sports meets life right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. DT and Murphy coming to you to start off all of your weeks here on Wake Up Call with Brendan Murphy and, of course, myself, Dan Tortora, a.k.a. DT. I got some cards to show, some really cool stuff to get into. But before we go there, Murph, any notes, any thoughts on the NFL moves that have been happening? Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson for the starting job in Pittsburgh. The carousel of quarterbacks has shaken up the NFL, maybe more so than we've seen in a very long time. We're going to have a bunch of different starters, and we have potential quarterbacks to be drafted in the first round, maybe 3 of them, maybe more. So anything that you want to jump into really quick before we segue into show and tell with the sports card world?
Honestly, just the rule changes. The
yeah.
like the banning of the hip drop tackle. I mean, in a way, I guess you could say it's like a cheap way of bringing somebody down. But at the same time, like, what are these guys supposed to do? Like, we're gonna see the potential scores of games going from like over under 41 to over under 51 or 55 or something.
Yeah.
I do think this is going to lead to a lot more scoring because it's going to be so much harder to bring guys down. So I think you're going to see a lot more offense in the years to come. Kickoff rule too, that's an interesting one. Bringing in the rule from the XFL, and I think that's an interesting rule. I'm still trying to figure out the way it works with touchbacks now, because I think they're trying to discourage touchbacks and encourage more returns.
Yes.
So they're trying to make it less incentivizing to just kick it through the end zone for teams. So, it'll be really interesting. I think it'll lead to less injuries, not having the guys running full speed down the field.
Yeah.
Only having 20 yards to start running, but that'll be definitely interesting. Other than that, I mean, I think the Steelers would be foolish to let Justin Fields start a day before they would have to give up that third round pick, because it's a sixth that could turn into a third, right? I think
with Justin Fields, yeah,
or fourth.
There's the discussion of how this breaks down and how this comes about. So the Justin Fields trade clause here that they have here is that I want to take a look at exactly what is here about the trade. So, and apparently Justin Fields rejected multiple trades before this trade came to fruition here. But let's take a look.
Maybe that's why they got.
It's a conditional 2025 6th round pick, and I want to see what it would become.
I think it could become a third.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now to see any specific change that can come. Oh, it could be a 4th round selection based on playing time.
Could be a 4th, okay.
Pending Fields.
Like he's gotta play more than 50% of the snaps. I think the Steelers would be foolish to let him play a day before they would have to give up the 4th. I would let Russell Wilson start. If he's playing great, keep him there.
Yeah.
If not, you put Fields in the day that it would stay a 6th round pick. And I'd be all for it. I think it would be a great idea for the Steelers. And then the one last note I had, obviously the Jets made a deal with the Eagles to get Hassan Reddick. This was a really interesting deal, giving up a 2026 conditional 3rd, 3 drafts away.
Yeah.
Normally you're seeing Howie Roseman fleece teams on trades.
Yeah.
This one, I think he got wrong, if you look at it. Now, granted, he wanted to get paid. Eagles weren't going to pay him, especially after paying Bryce Huff all that money that they did. But, looking at it, the conditions of the pick that could go up from a third to a second are essentially he has to play more than 66% of the plays, and he's got to get 10 or more sacks, and he's got to be both. Chances are that's not going to happen. With the way the Jets rotate their defensive linemen, he'll be lucky to play 55% of the snaps. But that's how they keep all their guys fresh. And I think that's going to be a system that's going to work for Hassan Reddick. And realistically, if the Jets don't re-sign him and they let him walk in the offseason, they're going to get a compensation pick anyway. So, it's not even going to matter to them what pick they give up, because this is essentially a free player in theory. Because if you let him walk, you're going to get a comp pick. Otherwise, you're going to, re-sign him and have a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber edge rusher for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna. I mean, some of these moves, and there's been so many of them. When we talked about the rules changes here on the broadcast last week as well, and had some fun kind of breaking it all down and going through that. So definitely go back and check that out. Papa Joe and I broke it down, as Murph brought up here. Some moves being made, getting into the NFL and going straight to show and tell. Proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. My mom, being the mom that she is, the awesome mom that she is, and Easter baskets when I was a kid had sports cards in it. Easter baskets as an adult have sports cards in it. There's Murph's Easter basket.
So this one's not mine.
Oh, that's not.
This one is not mine. This one is for my niece.
Okay.
I don't get Easter baskets anymore.
So we have
25 years old. I think I'm a little too old for Easter basket.
Hey,
but yeah, those are
Easter baskets.
This one's for my niece Allie. You got a chocolate bunny that my mom set up for my nephew. So yeah, they'll have some stuff. I think we're gonna go see them later on today before we head home. But yeah, so they got their stuff. We couldn't see them yesterday, but we'll probably see them later today.
Yeah, and a happy Easter to them as well. Mom got some packs here from GG Cards and Breaks for Easter. A little surprise. T. Higgins hype coming out of this. A fireworks refractor of Mr. Jonathan Taylor, as well as a throwback. Y'all know I love this. A throwback Randy Johnson Diamondbacks card. And then I got
it had the logo.
I got the bonus pack here. I got the bonus pack for Panini Prism, and I got 3 red, white, and blues. Murph's going to appreciate this. So I got a Brian Sipe red, white, and blue. Interesting. I got this one.
No clue who that is.
I didn't either. Red, white, and blue here. Brock Lesnar, who is a WWE star.
That's interesting.
Who decided he wanted to go and play foot. Fractor rookie card, red, white, and blue of Zach Mother freaking Wilson. But I got some.
God!
I got some other stuff.
I tell you what, though, going back on that Brock Lesnar card.
Yeah.
I was at a show last October, and the guy I work with is a massive Seinfeld fan. He's watched basically every episode like 25 times, so knows it like the back of his hand. I found somebody that had 2 George Costanza cards in their showcase. I'm like, oh, that's so sick. So I took a picture of it and sent it to him, just, figured he would think it was cool.
Yeah.
He texted me back. He goes, how much is, whichever one. So I asked him, he said it was this much. So he's like, buy it. I'll give you money for it when I see you on Tuesday. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I think it was like, $20 or something like that. But it was cool. It was something that, I thought of and showed it to him, and he's like, that is pretty cool. But it was like every once in a while, like if you have a unique card like that, you might be able to make, a little bit of money selling it because it's unique. Yeah. Like Brock Lesnar on an NFL cards is very unique.
Yeah.
Right? You get, Michael Jordan baseball cards that are unique. You get, LeBron football cards, and I think they've made them at some point, like throwbacks to when he was in high school. Stuff like that that's just unique that you don't normally see. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I could see that doing okay.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar. So I have that one. I looked at it. I was like, I know who Brock Lesnar is. What the heck is he doing on an NFL team? So that'll come out to the shows and might come out to the Wildcat, and then after the Wildcat, because that's our next GG Cards and Breaks trade night is out at the Wildcat. After that, it might come to, if it's not sold there, it might find its way out to our next show in Fishtown in Philadelphia. So could have some fun with that. I want to show everybody what I got here. So I got these from GG Cards and Breaks. I wanted both of these, and I didn't want to buy them on eBay. I wanted to get them from GG's. So I got a Bowman first, Marvin
Is
Harrison.
that blue? Is that sapphire?
That's the blue sapphire, yeah.
Okay.
Marvin Harrison Jr.'s first Bowman, so his first card. I got my refractor Bowman U of one of my favorite Gonzaga Bulldogs, Drew Timme, and it's an autograph. So I got a Drew Timme auto. And then this is because people, again, folks, I tell you, you got to come out to GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and Sundays from 10 to 5. You got to come out and see them, and you got to come to trade night. The community of sports card collectors here in Central and Upstate New York, tremendous sports card collectors around the world. We have this unique connection with each other, and the cards I'm about to show you were all given to me as gifts. So Tyson Campbell, refractor of his auto from Curtis, who has continuously given me not just Jaguars players, but Jaguars autographs. I want to give a shout out to Matt Shaler, who gave me this Derek Coleman rookie card. And then we have these 4 Diamondbacks. And so I got this one from owner Josh Gideon. So Jordan Lawler's rookie card, Stars of Major League Baseball. And then another Jordan Lawler. And then these 2 are from the gentleman, and I didn't know this, Joe Yeager. He came up to me during the trade night, and he said, "Hey, Dan, do you know that giant card that you got from GG Cards and Breaks?" He said, "I'm the one that left you that, Corbin Carroll." He said, he was like, "You're the guy." He said, "What's your last name?" He's like, "You're the guy that works with GG's or does some stuff with them." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I've been bringing you Diamondback cards. When I get them, I put them aside, and I've just been bringing them in for you." So he knows that I work with GG Cards or Breaks. He knows that we do like the promotion, the broadcast, whatever. And he's like, I bring you, like literally, total stranger. He said, "I bring you cards because I know you're a Diamondback fan." So Gabriel Moreno refractor rookie card he brought in for me as well.
That looks like a variation.
Yeah, and it's got his back here to the.
That's a short print
screen. And then he also brought me a purple refractor of Jordan Lawler from Bowman Chrome.
That's sweet.
And so those are from Joe Yeager. Shout out to Joe. And then I bought one of these and traded for another one. It is a 2021 Donruss Amon-Ra St. Brown rated rookie gold refractor, and it's a mint 9 out of 10.
Okay.
So I pulled got an Amon-Ra in a trade, and I have a rookie card Vortex refractor 9 out of 10 mint of 2023 Donruss CJ Stroud.
That's a good one.
So I ended up coming out of there having made $23. So bunch of wheeling and dealing, a lot of nice kind hearts out there, and of what I spent, I made my money back. So it was a very good day at GG Cards and Breaks. As always, a lot of great stuff that is there. So head out there to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. But my first one of one that I've
How could you forget about that?
The first one of one.
I was waiting for it. You teased it.
Yeah, the first one of one that I've ever pulled, and I didn't pull it from a box, and I didn't pull it from a pack. I pulled it from an Easter basket. This is a one of one GG Cards and Breaks signature, dual signature, Josh Gideon, Anthony Campbell card.
Ah, that's cool. That is cool.
So it says GG Cards and Breaks. It has their names on it, their signatures. It says Happy Easter, and in the corner it says one of one So as I said,
That's so cool.
I said to my mom, if I could ever pull a 1-of-1,
That's the one.
I'm proud to pull this dual signature 1-of-1 of two guys that I care about so very much.
That is cool.
And they played a whole trick on me. So they had the whole thing set up. They said, that my mom came in to get cards, and they're like, wait a minute. And they got their card, they did all this stuff, they signed it, they put all the information on it, they gave the little resting thing to sit on, and they told my mom, put it in the hutch and tell them that you need like a plate or something out of the hutch on Easter. So I went over to the hutch, and it was sitting in the hutch.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that is a 1-of-1 from Josh Gideon, Anthony Campbell, your proud leaders of GG Cards and Breaks. And I'm proud, gentlemen, that this is my first 1-of-1 that I have ever pulled, and I pulled it from an Easter basket. So many thanks to you, gentlemen.
That's awesome.
Priceless is how much that card is worth.
It's like the old MasterCard commercials. That's priceless.
Oh, yes. So, Murph, any final note as we bid you adieu to hang out with Mom and Dad and the fam? So anything that you'd like to add here on Easter Monday before we bid you adieu?
Not really, other than go Iowa, beat LSU by 30.
Coming from Murph.
And shut Angel Reese up, please.
Murph is just letting it all hang out this morning.
I will never have respect for that girl. Never. After what she did last year, my God. Like, I know how, unsportsmanlike it would be for Caitlin Clark to just, wave goodbye to them after, beating them by whatever. But considering now, it's one thing that if you remember during the Super Bowl that the Rams beat the Bengals when Aaron Donald basically said, put a ring on my finger, he did it to the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese did it in Caitlin Clark's face. That's not okay. I was hot after that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even watch women's college basketball. And that got me so hot. I'm like, oh my God. I want someone to shut her up. I want LSU to get embarrassed tonight. Embarrassed. And I want Caitlin Clark to wave goodbye. If she does that, all respect in the world to Caitlin Clark. And I don't think anybody would blame her for what happened last year.
Well, I want Caitlin to be the bigger person. I'm looking forward to seeing the game. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see this rematch and what
you'll have to send me a picture of your seats.
What's going to come down? We'll see, Murph. We'll see, man. So I mean, either way, Albany. I've been doing a lot of travel, a lot of legwork, but it's all good. It's all for great reasons. It's all for the grace of God. So we will definitely see the game tonight. I will be reporting on it. And coming up in hour number 2 today, Caitlin Hodge-Mihalis, a collegiate basketball alum herself and the coach of the King's College Monarchs, is going to be joining me in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk about the 2024 NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Tournament that Murph and I are just discussing here now. We will find out the rest of the Final Four today, and then the men and women will ship off to their respective locations for the Final Four teams in the country on both sides. A lot of great stuff coming up. Murph, as always, I appreciate you. Happy Easter once again. Tell Mom and Dad and the fam I said hello, and have yourself a safe trip back home.
Will do. Happy belated Easter to all of y'all, and we will see you next Monday.
That coming from Murph. We'll talk with you in just a little bit. Take care.
Yes, sir.
That coming from Brendan Murphy here with DT and Murphy, which brings you into every week of Wake Up Call, and always having a great time with Murph, where sports meets life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Caitlin Hodge-Mihalis is going to be joining me, a.k.a. Hodge, for what we call Cereal Combo. It gives us an opportunity to make some cereal concoctions, and as we're making those cereal concoctions, we speak about sports. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Excited to have this time with you, and definitely look forward to you following us back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. After you hear from our fantastic partners, you will then join us in the fast break, proudly here for you'll join us in Serial Combo, I should say, after the fast break, and we'll have a conversation with Caitlin Hodge about the 2024, Division I women's basketball tournament right here where sports meets life after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognize that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's MyAVICOLLIS. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9Campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9Campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It is 10:21, which is also my birthday. Perfect time for me to bring you Cereal Combo. And as we are here in Cereal Combo, you know that Caitlin Hodge Mahalis, a.k.a. Hodge, the King's College Monarchs women's basketball head coach, joining me where sports meets life, and always happy to have Hodge here on the broadcast, picture in picture with us as we get set to speak on the 2024 NCAA Division I women's basketball tournament that Hodge was just at a couple days ago in Albany, New York. Hodge, how we doing?
Hey, what's up, Dan?
So I have a weird concoction. This is probably the weirdest cereal combo I've ever done in my life. It was a last-minute thought, and because to be completely honest, the Lucky Charms s'mores concoction that they actually created themselves, I've been just going to town on that, going and buying multiple boxes. I made a combo today saying, like, I have to make an actual combo. So I made one. But it's very weird. It's very strange. It kind of is like this shirt in a way. By the way, this is the shirt that was worn by Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, for those of you wondering why I have a weird dinosaur on my shirt. The concoction that I made, Hodge, if you'd like me to tell you and tell the world, it is Fruity Pebbles and Honey Nut Cheerios.
I'm not mad at it. Two classics. Let's see what happens if two rights make a wrong.
Yeah, so what do you have? What do you got for today?
I doubled down on the honey factor. I have some honey smacks, and I've got Golden Grams.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a little bit of what I had left over in the house because I'm getting ready to go to, Cleveland for, Final Four WBCA convention. So that's what I got. Sticking to it.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like the I like staying. You're staying very like on that gentle road where I'm going to a place where I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how great this is going to turn out for me. But as you know, folks, in Cereal Combo, Hodge and I have the opportunity to create cereal combinations while we as a combo talk about sports. So I do want to make a nice note for this, though, is that this mug that you see here in the studio, my cousin David got this for me in honor of my grandma, my G-mama, my mom's mom. So it says, "Love you, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck," because that's the song she used to sing to me pretty much daily. So with that being said, G, here we go. Bottoms up to putting some milk in here. By the way, I overcrowded my bowl too with the amount of cereal I put in here. So if I eat this all, you're going to hear it the whole show. But let's see, Hodge. Let's see how yours is and how this one goes through. I don't hate it.
Mine's okay at best. I'm not going to lie. It's okay at best. Could have done better.
This is like pouring honey on sweetness. So as strange as it looks, and as not as, I don't want to say as strange as it looks, as weird as it sounds to put these two together, I think that this should be a combination the company looks into. I think they should do it.
It made sense. You ever put like, honey on fruit and then like grill it? So like that's normal in my world. I think that works. This is an over-aggression on honey and I don't need it. Will I finish it? Because I'm a winner, yeah.
Yeah.
But is it great? No.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about though. 2024 NCAA Division One women's basketball tournament. You went and you saw a couple awesome games in Albany, New York. So I'm going to hand it over to you so that we can all live vicariously through you and your experience in Albany.
Sure. So we went up on Friday, and I was able to see the first matchup was Notre Dame against Oregon State, and that matchup was I'm like you hear the saying a lot, like styles make fights. Like they're just different types because you're looking at the stat sheet as you're watching the game, and Oregon State has like 26 turnovers. Um, but they're winning. They're in it the whole time, and you're like, "How's this happening?" And it's because they out rebounded the crap out of Notre Dame. So that was the first time seeing Oregon State because you don't get a ton on live or you don't get it on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it was. I love post play. I'm a big post play fan. So watching Reagan Beers go off, the way that she does the post entry passing, the way that they just played so well, defensively as well was a lot of fun to watch. I was really looking forward to seeing Hannah Hidalgo and Notre Dame live. And it was a shame with the whole nose ring controversy because we saw her get a really dumb foul at the end of regulation of the first quarter, right? She picked up a dumb foul and she went out. And then in the arena, like we had no service. We didn't know what was going on with the nose ring and all that other stuff. So then she just doesn't play. So you assume like, oh, did she hurt herself? Did something happen? You realize like she's not on the floor, but you don't realize why or what's going on.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame looked choppy the whole time, which was a bummer. And they were able to, like, Citron did really well of keeping them making shots, doing some good stuff. But it came down to the end, and that's my whole thing. I don't ever fill out a bracket. It's not as fun for me. I like to root for chaos. I like to root for close games. I like to watch and then figure out, what team style am I vibing with that day, and then, pick my team that I'm rooting for while it's going down. And that one was a fun one to watch because just like you said, it came down to the end. It was really tight, great atmosphere. They had an awkward dad dance cam, and some lovely gentlemen did a great job, whether they were plants or not. It was incredible. Big fan. Got the whole building, going wild. So it was cool. It was cool to watch that game. Second game was obviously South Carolina and Indiana, and looked like it was going to be a runaway. Notre Dame or South Carolina was just up like 21, 22 points. And they were just hitting right out the gate. They hit everything. And, sometimes blowouts aren't fun because, there's not a lot of shots going in. They were still super fun to watch because the pace and the style that they play. And then Indiana, I mean, Sid Parrish, she did a phenomenal job on both ends of the floor, getting them back into it. And it came right down to the end. And so we were all sitting there, everybody's slowly standing on their feet and getting excited. So it was a really good, basketball crowd who was there for the long haul and watching two really good games.
Yeah, I mean that was, and like you said, I mean there was so many, and I watched the South Carolina Indiana game, and people where we were started to root for Indiana. They again wanting, like you said, wanting to see chaos. So they started to root for Indiana, wanted to see a change, and South Carolina obviously gutted it out, and we see South Carolina and Dawn Staley move forward. I love, and I'll say this from my perspective, and I tell people this all the time, whether you believe in God or you don't, whatever religion you are, like that's your peace, that's your whatever, like whatever. I don't even want to say it's your peace, it's whatever you decide. But in my world, I believe in God. I've talked to so many student athletes and coaches during this NCAA tournament that have taken so much time to praise God. And Dawn Staley yesterday took the opportunity, and she goes, if you don't believe in God, there's something wrong with you. That was her thing yesterday. She came out and said, and she gave all the glory to God. She said, look at this and the run that South Carolina has had. What are your thoughts on, just her faith, her belief, and then looking at this from the perspective of the fact that South Carolina is such a powerhouse, yet there was maybe a thought that they couldn't do it this year.
Yeah, I think Dawn Staley does a great job of being her all of the time. She says the same stuff when, they're losing or they're having the tough losses or they're struggling to find out, how they want to play for that year. So I think big credit to her and why she is able to have so many, look up to her and inspire so many is because she's just authentically herself 24/7 and people are drawn to that. And what, like you said, whether it's your thing or it's not, you can tell that she's genuine about it. So if anybody had problems with it, it's like, all right, man, just live your life then.
Yeah.
But I think that it's incredible what South Carolina has done, right? Like they have not a single starter back in their lineup and they have lost one game in the last 2 years. So, I think that authenticity translates down to our team. We're sitting there watching them mid-game and the Macarena came on and they're just dancing, playing loose, having a good time. And sure, I think some people on the other side be like, oh, they're dancing, that's disrespectful. And it's like, no, that's their personality. They're not doing it because they're trying to rub it in your face at all. They're doing it because you can tell that that's a group of kids that love them, like love each other, love themselves, and are embracing the moment of where they're at. And I think that is a credit to Dawn Staley, letting that happen and creating that. She had a couple of interviews as well afterwards talking about how this group is different and she just doesn't understand them at all, but she's tried to relinquish some control for them, to be themselves and not on her non-negotiables. And she says they're, a little different on the discipline end than she would be, but she's trying to find them and meet them in the middle. And you can tell that, the team is bought into her completely. Every interview you hear of players, current or former, they're talking about the reason they're there, they're not transferring, is because of Dawn Staley. And at the end of that first game against Indiana, I believe it was Raven Johnson might have said it. If not, it was Bree Hall. But they were like, well, what is it that made you be so calm after giving up that kind of lead? And like, we have Dawn Staley. If she's not sweating it, we're not sweating it. Yeah. Right. So I think that that's the ultimate compliment and buy-in level from their team.
Yeah. I mean, it's been, and it makes me think of NC State on the men's side, that during a game, they're dancing, they're rocking the baby, they're feeding the baby, like, and like you said, some people might take it as disrespectful. They're just guys having fun and girls having fun. I mean, these, I think in South Carolina's case, they're expected to win so many times, and this year maybe not because of like you said, so the changeover of student athletes, but they're a 1 seed. They obviously they got Coach Staley. They have their recent history, and the things that she's done, and they have the mighty UConn not being the mighty UConn all the time, and that South Carolina's been able to come up here. So they have it from the perspective of they're winning a lot. In NC State's case, they're winning a lot, but they people are just waiting for them to be tired and waiting for them to be done. I love seeing that, like you said, Dawn Staley, when she talks after a game, she is who she is. It's not, I'm going to be this way when I win, I'm going to be this way when I lose, I'm going to believe and have faith in God when I win, I'm going to not have faith when I lose, I'm going to be swearing at this time, I'm going to be cheering. It's, Dawn Staley's out there being Dawn Staley. Kevin Keats is out there being Kevin Keats. And in two different worlds of expectation to win versus not a lot of expectation to win, I'm seeing two teams on the men's and women's side that are just out there having fun. They're out there with their bands. They're out there, like celebrating with the cheerleaders. They're going over to the fan bases. They're like you said, dancing on the sideline and having a good time. It's not disrespectful to have fun. What is disrespectful to me, and you and I talked about this race things, and I want to preface this by saying, as somebody who is in the media and has a responsibility to tell you the real story and not a fabricated one, the media has so much power, and it saddens me how the majority of the media abuses that power. If you say that everything is racist, it starts to dilute everything that actually is. And when they did the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, this is racist. If you side with Caitlin, you like white people. If you side with Angel, you like black people. I said, take all of that away. Take color away. And put yourself in the position of Angel and in the position of Caitlin. Angel Reese's team last year was celebrating with 12 seconds to go. They were arm in arm with each other. They're laughing, they're smiling, they're hugging each other. And Angel left her entire team to go over to Caitlin and do this for 12 seconds, 14, whatever it was. Caitlin didn't do anything. Caitlin stood there, hands on her knees, and is dealing with what unfortunately so many athletes have dealt with in life, which is knowing that you were almost there. I see this rematch tonight, and I see all the fake racism that people are going to put around it. And what bothers me the most is the media creating a fabricated story. But the second thing that bothers me in this LSU Iowa is that if I was Caitlin Clark, I'm a peaceful man. If I was her, Hodge, you would have had, if you were on my team, you would have had to pull me off of Angel to see somebody taunt me and say I'm winning a championship in your face. I would have no respect for that person for the rest of my life. I don't want that to happen tonight. If Caitlin wins, I don't want her to do anything back to Angel. I want her to be the bigger person. I want to believe that Angel's a bigger person now than maybe she was last year. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. That's her journey. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that, because it really bugged me last year that they made it a racism thing because Angel's African American and Caitlin Clark is Caucasian. That had nothing to do with it. You've been an athlete. I've been an athlete. I don't think any one of us would respond well to someone on the other team coming to you, standing a step or two away from you and pointing to their ring finger while the clock runs down, and you can see this person out of the corner of your eye just taunting you at a really difficult moment in your career. So what are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts on the fact that here we go again tonight?
I think it's not an either or, because I do think the racism was very heavily tied into it. I was in that arena and some people were not kind. And I think that they have that maybe unconscious bias to where it doesn't appear like it's an overtly, what everyone calls it as an overt, like act of racism or whatnot. Because I think when you go back and you listen to their interviews, you have Caitlin Clark who's like, I didn't even notice, I didn't even care. And she would have done the same thing. She did the same thing to Haley Van Lith. Angel Reese had a really cool part in her interview the other day about Caitlin's great, where we get along. It's nothing against each other. It's just between the line that there's no friends, right? So I think that that's where nobody had a problem when Joe Burrow did it, right? Nobody has a problem when anybody in the NBA, NFL, MLB do any of these other type of, taunting. So yeah, would I be like annoyed in front of it if someone came right into my face? Sure. But I also think then that's governing it where female athletes haven't been allowed to be athletes, right? They have to be picture perfect. Caitlin Clark is catching all this grief because she swore and said, shut the F up while she's playing, right? So she gets all this unwanted hate on the internet because, again, like you said, the media people think that they can just say whatever they want. Yeah. And she's just being an athlete. How many times do you have LeBron saying stuff, and how many times you have all these other athletes, whereas if they have that, the male lens on it, they're just being competitive. They're just being fiery. They really care about what's going on. But, female athletes are not allowed to be villains, right? We talked about this, I think, one of the other episodes, where you're not allowed to be a villain. You're not allowed to do something that people don't deem as valuable or whatever, or highly looked upon or whatever it is. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be a heated matchup because last year was in the Final Four, in the championship to go and win it. And yeah, there's absolutely a revenge storyline, right? Like, let them have a revenge storyline. Like Angel Reese, let her stand her ground and puff her chest and be like, all right, you want it, come and take it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. These kids are handling it fine. I think it's everyone else around it trying to make, certain things fit narratives. But I do think that, from having been there, from having seen a lot of it in person, that like there absolutely were some like racist undertones to it. But it's the way that, the media exacerbates that or doesn't acknowledge certain parts of it. So I think it can be done in a better way to realize like, no, this is part of what's going on for maybe the people who aren't, normally in the athletic space, right? Like we understand the revenge stories and how it goes, and that it's in that moment that, yeah, like if Angel Reese came at you, you're like, oh, hell no, that's not happening on my watch, right? You're allowed to do that in the arena of sports. But then if you do that outside of it, some people aren't able to flip that switch and turn that on and just be like, okay, like once you step outside the lines, you can not like somebody because they did that, but you can respect that, like, they went back and forth. I think the other part of Angel Reese's interview that she had was talking about she loves going against Caitlin because everyone else, when she talks, they kind of don't engage with her. And she loves going back and forth with Caitlin because she will go back and forth, right? You need that little bit in you to get those high level matchups. Those kids have so much pressure on them that, everyone talks about the height of, Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan. They also didn't have this media scrutiny with social media and all this other stuff following them on top of the generational talents that they are. And Caitlin Clark is absolutely, I think, in that stratosphere, just the way that everything is played out with her talent on top of, the right timing and all of those other things that go into creating sports icons.
Yeah, you bring up a bunch of points here, and one of them being that, you talk about villains of the story. One of the people that I have, if he's playing a character, then I guess he's playing a character. But Draymond Green, to me, is a complete waste of time in the NBA. I think it's bad for the NBA. I think it's bad for the Golden State Warriors. I think it's bad for basketball. I think it's bad for kids watching, men and women, boys and girls. I mean, I'm not saying I will never wish a man or a woman out of their job. I will never, say that Draymond Green doesn't deserve this, that, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when Draymond Green is on television, I turn on a different channel. Because Dennis Rodman, sometimes you loved him and sometimes he just like irked you. But I just feel like Draymond, it's different. It's like Rodman wanted to get into the head of the other team. Draymond will yell at everyone in the arena. Like, I mean, and there's things that he did last year that were just, it was just too much. And this year, 4 minutes into a game, screaming in the face of an official, there comes a time where the NBA and Adam Silver have to sit down and say, what is this man doing? And because when I watch Draymond Green, I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like he was a kid in school who maybe grew up in a lifestyle where people weren't paying attention to him at home, so he acted out in school so that somebody would notice him because he needed to be noticed. He needed the attention. And if that's the case, I feel terrible for Draymond and I feel terrible for his childhood. As an adult, this is not how you act. And like you said, men are allowed to do it, women aren't in certain thought processes of some people, not you or me. When I see Draymond, I don't care if Draymond was a walrus, a girl, a boy, whatever. Draymond Green is a nuisance to the NBA. He is. It's to the point where it's like, well, and I always said to people, I said, the Warriors might look at it like, he's a junkyard dog, but he's my junkyard dog. So when he barks at you, like, at least he's mine. But I think at this point, it's gotten to a point where it's just like, all right, dude, like, it's been 9 years of this. Like, it's enough. I'm tired of it. It's whatever. So in the defense of if men can do it, why can't women do it? I'm not for people like Draymond Green getting to do these things, man or woman. When we go back to, like you said, you were in the building, I wasn't. If there were people having racial moments in that moment between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, which you're more privy to in that respect, and I don't want to act like I know because I wasn't in the room. I'm saying this from my point of view. From my point of view, there's no racism. From my point of view, it was Angel Reese's reaction versus Caitlin Clark looking at the crowd and doing this is a lot different than getting in her face and doing that. So I didn't like it. And I watched it a bunch of times because I know people were being weird about it. So I wanted to watch it and see it. And obviously I watched it live. But when when you bring up these points of like, if a man can do it, why can't a woman do it? If Joe Burrow can do it, then why can't, you know, somebody else go out there and why can't Breanna Stewart do something that Joe Burrow did? That's a point. From my point of view, I don't want to see anybody cross a certain line. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I lost respect for Angel Reese that day, but I also know that there's other players on the women's and men's side that do it, so it's not just Angel Reese. I just think about it from the perspective of when your team is celebrating, what was more important to you? Celebrating or taunting? In her case, it was taunting. But to your point of when men do it, people don't say anything. When men get crazy about it, people don't say. Some people don't. I do. I say it when there's a Draymond Green. I say it when there's a guy that's fouling in such a way where you're like, yeah, okay. But I was also at a women's game where my little sister Franny ran by a sideline and the opposing coach, as she was running by, yelled out, "Now." And as soon as he said "now," one of the players went over to my sister and jammed her stick into her leg and tried to maim her during a playoff game. So I've seen it from the coaching side. I've seen it from the student athlete. I've seen it from the man. I've seen it from the woman. And, it's like the coach told her to do it, but then the player still did it. So the coach, a male, was wrong. The player, a female, was wrong. And so, I guess through my eyes, I don't see male, female. I don't see color. I just see right and wrong. So I'm coming from that perspective. You're coming from the bigger picture, Hodge, of you might not see it that way, Dan, but this is how some people acted and this is how some people saw it. And that's really sad for me because tonight it should just be a really good dogfight. It should just be a really awesome game. But I feel like there's going to be heightened security. I feel like people in Albany have to be prepared. And I feel like this game is going to be different security-wise. I think it's going to be different Albany-wise. I think it's going to be different court-wise. And I think there's going to be more pressure on the officials, not because the players are bad people, but because the environment is a continuation of last year's environment, which unfortunately, like you had described, is not as great. And I think that's the saddest part of tonight's game, is that I'm concerned for the safety of people in the crowd and the safety of the student athletes when I should not be thinking about that.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on, and I agree with that, especially with the line of right and wrong, right? Like, I think the reason it's okay for me to be like, all right, whatever with Angel Reese is because she didn't cross that line, right? If she does what like Draymond does, or go back to every line of like Duke men's players between the Grayson Allens, the Christian Leitners, like can't stand them, hate them. There's no place for that to be in the game, or where the coach is telling people to take people out. 100% agree with you on that line. I think I look at, maybe it's because I like professional wrestling. Like Angel Reese is the perfect heel, right? She does it. She knows the little thing that's going to piss people off because she knows what genuinely gets people riled up. And she uses it, and she creates moments, right? But I have no problem on that side of it. Would I like it? Like if one of my players did it? Absolutely not. Like I'd be like, nope, get over here. But that's also something that maybe I'm not good at. Like I can learn how to let people embrace things if it's not too much. But I think there's so many other lines of nuance that go into it. But I agree. I worry that tonight should be a highlight of just really freaking good basketball across the table. And I hope that people can let that happen. I worry about, social media, running with it the wrong way and feeding into those narratives. I worry about, that LA Times article, the way, like, that's the stuff that I look at when you're saying big picture, the way that they're just describing LSU for no other reason, right? Like, it's very much not just like sexist, but like those racist undertones, and there's no place for that. And that's where you hope that stuff stays out of the game. That's part of the sign that like it's growing because more people are paying attention. So when you open the doors to more people, sometimes the bad stuff comes in with it.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate side of it. But tonight should just be 2 really good basketball games with 4 really good teams, with literally every team having a generational talent on each of them, right? You have Paige, you have Juju Watkins, you have between Angel and Flau'jae, like number 4 for LSU, Flau'jae has just been incredible as a sophomore, to where she's been outperforming, I think, Angel Reese on that sense. So then you have obviously Caitlin Clark with Iowa. Like that, this is just a great night for really good basketball. And that's what I hope ends up sticking out at the end of the day. And I hope, like you said, on the officiating side, the officiating's been pretty terrible in the last, like even from conference tournaments up into the NCAA tournament, where I think it's a very hard job. I think it's a very hard job to be an official with that pressure, all that eyes, all those other things. You could see what happened in that South Carolina LSU game. It's because officials let them play a little too much, right? And so then it led into that escalation, and you got that that scuffle going on. But then you look now at the NCAA tournament where they're just calling every touch foul and there's not flow, and the best players are on the bench, and that's also not what it's supposed to be. So I'm hoping the pendulum was here, it swung here, and then hopefully, by tonight in the Final Four, you're able to get that back in the middle where they are allowed to play. They are allowed to have a little bit of physicality, but all within the rules, right? Like enforcing the right things to keep it clean, to keep it from crossing that line early on, but also keep good players on the floor if they're not fouling. There were so many times they went in the games yesterday to their official, like their eye in the sky, like the women's side of like their Jean Sarator, I'm blanking on her name. But then they were like, yeah, no, I don't see anything there. And it's like, how do you expect the game to grow if not all aspects of the game are growing?
Yeah, no, and like you said, you gotta have the right officials. You have to have I can't stand, and you brought up a great point, and this is for basketball, not women's basketball, not men's basketball, it's just for basketball. When we get like Drew Timme all last year for Gonzaga, and then we get to the tournament and he's got 3 fouls in the first half. And it's like, okay, well, Gonzaga can't play their game now, and Drew Timme can't be out there now, so now the world's different. DJ Burns Jr. fouls people 95% of the time, but it doesn't get called. So if they call it in the Final Four that they didn't call the entire season, they didn't call on when Filipowski is in front of him and he's got Filipowski like this and he turns around to face him and he wants to get a shot and he pushes Filipowski so he can go up with the thing. When they don't call that a foul, if they call that a foul in the championship game like they did to Gonzaga years ago against North Carolina, it's like, if you didn't call it all year, then what are you changing now? Like, why is there a difference now? And like you said, the pendulum's swinging, and you don't want to have scuffles. You don't want to have these teams getting so heated, and that's where the officials have to have control. You have to be able to control the game. Touch fouls drive me nuts, but then egregious fouls where you know it's a foul. When Grayson Allen, like you brought up, used to trip people, literally wait, put his leg out, and then pretend like what? He was having spasms at the perfect time every game. So, it's officiating as you get closer and closer. And what people don't know about officials in the tournament is they have their own bracket. So when you start in the tournament as an official, you are being overseen by the head of officiating. And on top of being overseen by the head of officiating, there are other officials or coordinators of officiating that are going around the country to different sites that are literally grading you and then reporting to that overseeing NCAA official that's looking at everybody. And so you're not supposed to move on. If you make enough mistakes, if you do enough things, you're supposed to have the best officiating the closer you get to the championship. Like you're supposed to have the best teams make it to the end. You're supposed to have your best officials make it to the end. And that's a frustrating part of the game. LSU and Iowa tonight, and USC and UConn playing tonight. My hope is that, especially with LSU and Iowa knowing the just everything from last year with the championship game, that these officials call a fair game. They call a foul on both sides that's the same. They don't call a foul on both sides. It's not a foul. And that they get control of this, because my concern for tonight is emotions are already running extremely high. And not that USC and UConn don't have high emotions as well, because they have to have high emotions too, right? They're trying to make it to the Final Four. So with all these emotions here, we're supposed to have the best staff of officials that we can possibly get. And I love that you brought up that point, because they are the third team on the floor. And that third team never should be leaning on one side or the other. And so the hope is that they can get control of these games. But let's jump into the games, Hodge. We have LSU Iowa. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your winner. And we have USC UConn. And when you talk about USC UConn, I would love for you to tell me your thoughts on Syracuse Orange women's basketball, who were within 2 of UConn in the fourth quarter when they played them in this year's tournament. Syracuse of the past would have lost by 37. Syracuse of the present was within 1 possession down the stretch. So I would love to get your picks for tonight to make it to the other half of the Final Four. As we know, the other 2 are decided with South Carolina and NC State. So I'd love to get your thoughts on tonight and a little bit of thoughts on Syracuse.
I mean, Deja Fair, right? That's the difference between teams of past and the way that they were able to play with UConn. I think that she hasn't gotten enough light, and I know a lot of people have talked about it just because she's now up there with Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum. Like, she is third on that list now.
Yeah.
And so you hear Gino and Paige and all of these other, and Angel, like everyone's talking about Deja Fair and how she has been a game changer and she's able to do so much. So I think that obviously one person can't win a game, but they can make it pretty darn close. And I think that's what happened there. As far as tonight's game, I think the difference between LSU and Iowa, LSU has looked gassed. They've just looked like in that third quarter when they were coming out in their previous game, they just looked gassed, a lot of hands on knees, but it wasn't just that. It just looked like they could not get going. And every time that Colorado was able to get out in transition and play quickly, LSU really didn't even really run down the floor, right? Like, they were able to get out in transition. That's what sparked Colorado to be able to get back into games, and they just didn't make some shots down the stretch. So obviously you have such power within LSU in their rebounding and in their post play and the way that Flauger's been playing. So I think it's going to come down to that rebounding and like post battle for LSU. Can Iowa, withstand that storm? Because it's going to keep coming. Because if you take away Angel, then you're going to have Anissa Morrow. You're going to have that dual threat in the post. That is really hard. Most teams have one player who can maybe bang and hang, but LSU has 2. And they play a ton, and they're able to go after it. So I think Iowa's key is, and their strength is playing in transition and tiring them out. They're going to have to make shots. It's going to have to be somebody other than Caitlin. Proved that last game where she had 15 assists or something like that. Her teammates were making shots. So if they can get out and transition consistently, it kind of eliminates that rebounding battle a little bit, because that means Iowa has gotten the defensive rebound to allow them to run, or they've gotten the turnover that's allowed them to run.
Right.
But then they've got to convert it. So I think I'm going to go with my official pick of Iowa, because I think they have that little extra chip of, we were close, we want this, that revenge, that comeback story. And I think the way that they looked so fast last game is going to be a problem for LSU. Other game of USC and UConn, obviously, you and I, we've lived through the dominant era of UConn. It is absolutely insane to me that they have 6 players injured. They're only playing with 7 players overall. And here they are again in Elite 8, right? Like, that's absolutely insane. And if you put most coaches, I don't want to say all, because I think that there's some other who could probably make it work, right? Like, I think Dawn Staley could absolutely have made it work. Yeah. But to do what Gino's done with those injuries, to get the production that he needs, was the game against Duke impressive? No. Like, it was a boring game where it was like 39-19 with 2 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. But they deliver, right? Like, Paige Beckers is also, I think people have forgotten about Paige because she got hurt and she went away for a year. And so when she was that first year when the Final Four was in Minneapolis and she was trying to play at home in Minnesota, she absolutely took over. They ended up losing the Final Four, but they were incredible because Paige is someone who can take over a game, but she's playing like a power forward. Like, she's playing in the interior, and she's just doing everything possible. And Aaliyah Edwards, when she finds her rhythm, she is very hard to stop. You got Nika Mule, who's a good energy. Like, everyone gets impressed by the assists. Like, she's the all-time assist leader in UConn history. And it's like, do you know who played for UConn? Like, that's Sue Bird, that's Jen Rosati, that's like all Renee Montgomery, like all these big-time players. And it's Nika Mule right now on this team. So I think that part is going to be interesting to go against USC, who's got Juju Watkins, who honestly reminds me of Maya Moore. Like she is just a big guard with insane body control. Like I was texting with my point guard watching their game the other day. She just it takes like two or three dribbles and accelerates so quickly down the floor, and then all of a sudden she's kind of got like the Luca ability to just pull up, or the Joker ability to just pull up with such body control and such ease that she just makes the shot look easy. And you're like, that was insanely difficult and highly, highly athletic. The other thing that I like from USC is they have a lot of senior leadership, even though this is their first year at USC. They have, the rule in the Ivies where you can't use your fifth year in the Ivies. You can use it, right? They all have their COVID year. If they want to use their extra year of eligibility, then as long as they're not in the Ivy League, then they can go and do it. And they have three. It's not just one. They have three Ivy League players that were literally players of the year, all like first conference players in the Ivy League who in the last couple of tournaments, people have realized that the Ivy League can play. You had Princeton making a deep run. You have Columbia who was able to get in. You have all these teams. Penn is historically very good and in the top of the Ivy League. Harvard, who's made that resurgence and done really well. So to get the top players from the Ivy League to go into USC to surround Juju Watkins, who's a true freshman, I think is just a really smart way to go about, the transfer portal. Because sometimes, it can be chaotic and it can be what it is and all the criticisms and praises of it. But that's a great way, I think, to use that portal to get yourself some true leadership where it doesn't feel like you're, the whole tampering of like, oh, are people playing this, doing that, doing whatever. Like they surrounded it with really high IQ, just really tough, gritty basketball players. And they're going to have some depth. So I think that one will be, this is like a true coin flip. Like I think it would be fun to watch Juju against South Carolina, but I don't know if UConn's depth is going to be able to, withstand that. So, but then you have UConn's experience, right? That goes a lot farther. So I will say I'm going to go USC because Baylor had USC with some of those crazy defensive pressures at the end of the game, and USC was turning it over. But when it came down to it, they had Juju made shots. They were able to go and attack it. I think UConn, if they win, I will not be surprised or upset.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll give my picks on here too. I'm gonna go. I mean, I had Iowa from the jump, so I'm gonna stick with Iowa in this game. I think LSU again, and as you talked about and so eloquently broke down so many pieces of all these teams, and I appreciate that. There's a lot to LSU, and like you said, if they can bang on those boards, if they can have that inside presence, if they can slow the game down, then that's going to be their game to play. If Iowa can speed them up, if Iowa can get in transition, listen, the faster that Iowa goes, the faster the ball moves, the faster Caitlin Clark gets open, and we know that she can shoot when she's open, and we know that she can shoot when she's not open. So, I think if the game is moving at a fast pace, then it's Iowa's. I think if it slows down and it plays around the rim, then it's LSU's. I'm going to pick Iowa. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, and I'm going to give Iowa some separation here by probably like 10 points. But I'm going to say Iowa will take this one. In the other piece that you brought up, you're talking about UConn. Listen, every excuse you can make for UConn to not make something, my retaliation message to you is Gino Auriemma. And I mean, the man, and then when you talk about the transfer portal and UConn's not getting the best of the best anymore, Gino Auriemma, because him and his staff are finding student athletes still. And the way that you got to think about it like this. They've never rebuilt. They reload for decades. They're constantly reloading. How do you do that? Because your staff knows who you're looking for. Your coach knows how to train them. Your strength and conditioning and nutritional staff know what you need to do every single time. It's not just Gino, it's the whole staff. So let me not, when I say Gino, I'm giving him a lot of credit, which I think he has earned. But to the entire staff, you don't get student athletes, especially in a year where you have multiple injuries. You don't lose half your team and get to the Elite Eight. But if you're UConn, you can play with 5 players that don't have arms and legs because it somehow works out for them. What he has done there and what his staff has done there is there's been this culture and there has been a formula and the formula works. And I think that South Carolina is working on building their own consistent formula. I think that, Kim is over in LSU building her formula. I think that Iowa, after Caitlin Clark, is going to big kind of at the LSUs, at the arguable Notre Dames, at the UConns, at the South Carolinas in women's basketball that are building a certain formula model. And it's not the same as Geno's, but there's something to be said about it's not just UConn anymore. And I think back in the day, it was easy to say, if you're paying attention to women's basketball, watch Pat Summitt in Tennessee, watch Gino Auriemma at UConn. Now I feel like we're saying something different. Now you have to look at South Carolina, you have to look at LSU, you have to look at UConn, you have to look at the Notre Dames of the world. There's been other teams that have come up. Louisville had moments. We look at NC State this year. Men's and women's team in the Final Four. If UConn does it, then 50% of the Final Four on both sides, men's and women's, will be going together. Southern Cal, USC, I feel like UConn, and I'm trying to word this right because I don't mean it. So like what I'm trying to say is like, I don't want to say it in such a, like, I don't want to say UConn is down. That's what I'm trying to say. Because like, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And I've never lied to anybody here on the show. I'm not a liar off the air. I'm not a liar on the air. And I carry my same opinion with or without the microphone being on. God bless you if you just sneeze. So UConn is in an arena where there are more threats. But I do not believe that UConn is ever down. I think if there's a 13-round bout and UConn's in the ring, I'm going to put my money that they're going to eventually knock you out no matter how much they're wobbling around. So this is hard because I think it would make logical sense to pick USC. I think it would make logical sense to say that they're going to have more gas in the tank, more bodies to go, more things to be thrown at. What if UConn gets in foul trouble? But your gut doesn't lie. And so I'm picking Iowa and I'm picking UConn because I just see Gino shaking hands at the end of this game having won it. And I see it already. So I'm going to say UConn. I'm going to say Iowa. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be really amazing. I'm so excited for it. And again, and I've echoed these sentiments for 21 years, and I will continue to. If you're not watching women's basketball because you're a basketball fan, but you're a men's basketball fan, I would tell you, having played basketball the majority of my life, and just a couple of weeks ago went out on a court and started shooting again, and ask more of myself every time I go out on a court. If you respect the game of basketball and you respect the nuances of it and the critical key components that are very hard to see to someone who doesn't know the game, you cannot be a basketball fan and watch men's basketball only. If you're a fan of the sport of basketball, and I'm not saying this because Hodge is picture-in-picture with me. Hodge knows this because I covered her team at Marywood. And before you even got there, Hodge, my words to Marywood were, they said, we're going to do these games. And I said, okay, men's and women's. And they said, well, we're definitely going to do men's. We're still trying to figure it out. And I said, well, if we're not doing women's, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to set up in the middle of a women's game and show Hodge like, hey, we're here, but not for you. We're not doing that. And a few years ago when I went to Marywood and they weren't doing the women's games, I looked at them, I said, it's 15 minutes before the game. Why aren't they set? There's nothing out here. They're like, yeah, we don't really do women's games anymore. And this was, I don't know, like 4 years ago. And I looked at the person and I said, that's not what I built. Like, if I have to come down here and fix that, I'll fix it. But I don't understand the closed-mindedness of women's basketball because I like fundamentals and I like the intricacies of being a team. And I feel like you find more team basketball in women's basketball than sometimes you're going to find in men's basketball. And you find you find that there's, I don't know, I love fundamentals. One of my biggest irks about Syracuse men's basketball for the last many years, and this is my hometown, is they have no fundamentals. They don't know how to do the basic things I learned when I was 10, 7. And it frustrates me. They don't run plays. They don't box out. They don't set screens. They don't do all of these things that if I didn't do them, I'd be running the whole practice. And so, I mean, I'm not going to beg people to watch women's basketball. I'm just going to give you this very kind disclaimer. If you decide to not watch the games tonight and you decide to call yourself a basketball fan from here on forward, not watching women's basketball, you are disrespecting and losing out on something that has been absolutely incredible, and it has built friendships and connections for me for my entire life, like with Hodge. So if you decide to not watch the games tonight, that's your decision, and you're totally welcome to do that. And there are men in this world that support women because they're terrified not to. And then there's men like me who support women because I've watched them play for 21 years, and it's stupid to me that we can't support what they've done. I drove 9.5 hours in a car to watch Lemoyne play one women's basketball game. And I would do that a million times over, no matter if they win or lose, because the coaching, the student athlete, the professional athlete, you're ridding yourselves of good basketball. So when you watch tonight, enjoy it. When you go to the games tonight, be safe, be kind, and be respectful. Cheer on your team. You don't need to boo. How about you cheer? Let's have fun. Let's celebrate the fact that people are now being, I mean, the reality is people, and you know this, Hodge, people are being forced at networks now, major networks. They're being forced to talk about women's basketball. They're being forced to talk about women's sports. They're being forced to care. The beautiful thing is when you care by yourself, you don't have to be forced into it. So I'm excited to watch it tonight. And if you don't watch the games, I feel like you're missing out on some really great people. And that's really sad. But that's your decision at the end of the day. And I don't know what's on Monday nights for TV shows, but I know what I'll be watching. Hodge, I want you to have the final word here about the women's basketball tournament in general, what it's been this year. Last year was such a tough thing to overcome as far as excitement and exhilaration and just overall awesomeness of the tournament. Did this year do it better so far? Are they on their way? What do you want to say about this year's tournament?
Yeah, I think they rode the wave, and it turned the wave to be a little bit bigger too, because the attention and the eyes that came to the game stayed, and then the product delivered because the product's been delivering for as long as it's been a product. And now that people are being forced into it being available, right? You're seeing all these records being shattered for viewership, and it's like, okay, is it a chicken or the egg conversation? Is it being shattered because, Caitlin Clark's the greatest player to ever play? She's a generational talent, but like, are you telling me that Maya Moore wasn't must-see TV or Cheryl Swoops wasn't must-see TV? It's the eyes are coming to an already good product, and they're continuing to deliver at a higher and higher level every single year. So yeah, do I think that somebody else is going to be Caitlin Clark next year? No. But do I think there are enough compelling stories that hopefully we brought enough eyes to where people who, like you are and you were speaking to, want to cover it and are able to cover it in the right way, not just because they're forced to find these stories, right? Because that's what compels people about sports, is you get to know who the people are, you get to know their backstories and their personalities and all of these things that make every single human, right, period, themselves. But that vehicle of sports is something that you and I feel very, passionate about, of how that brings out that authenticity in people. So I hope that all of these eyes are there for the right reasons, so that way they can keep building the product and not just, shining the light on it when there's somebody like a Caitlin Clark, and then now they're going to, shine the light somewhere else because they're over it. Could there be, not the same viewership records next year? Probably not without Caitlin Clark, right? But someone else is going to step up, and hopefully they've created these lifelong fans that are now in on women's basketball, and they're now going to go to these games more regularly. So then you see more of that steady growth in the WNBA. You see that steady growth in the numbers. You see that steady availability, right? It's the product is good, and it's getting viewership records because people can actually find it easily, accessibly, and at the right times. It's not put on at 1:00 on like a random network that not everybody has. They're not forcing people to stream it and buy, different streams or different memberships to go and watch stuff. So hopefully this is showing what women's athletics is known forever, is that it's an accessibility thing. You give us access, we'll be able to make it work. But if you're putting us on at times where people aren't naturally going to catch a casual viewership by flipping through the channels, it's not going to happen. So hopefully we're proving, nope, the product is here. Now that you're here, why don't you stay a while?
Yeah. And Jerry Hart, who's supported me from day zero, he just put out Hodge with an exclamation point, said go Pacers. So some love out there from Marywood University, and some love tonight as we're going to figure out in the Elite Eight who will be the final two teams to advance to this year's Final Four. Will it be USC or UConn in the Region 3 in Portland, or will it be Iowa or LSU in Region 2 in Albany? We will find those out tonight, folks. April Fool's Day, April 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Iowa, the 1 seed, will take on 3-seeded LSU out of Albany, and then we'll travel to Portland for the later game, which will be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, approximately, on ESPN. We'll be a little bit after 9 because obviously they're going to be celebrating and all that stuff, but 9 p.m. Eastern Time, number 1 seed USC against 3-seeded UConn. So 2 1 seeds versus 2 3 seeds tonight will show us who it's going to be. And Hodge has gone with Iowa and USC, and I have gone with Iowa and UConn. So we will see what happens from here. I'm happy that Dawn Staley's back in the thing, and I'm super excited for NC State, for men and women, to really be making some cool history in Raleigh, North Carolina. So with that being said, Hodge, it's hard for me to bid you adieu because these go by pretty fast, but I want to thank you for something before we hop out of here. I want to thank you for sticking up for women's athletics. I want to thank you for being a student athlete that always handled yourself, in my opinion, with respect for the game and respect for your teammates. I appreciate the fact that, to me, you're one of the beacons. If there's going to be a Hall of Fame at Marywood University, you should be in that Hall of Fame. I think that there's student athletes, to me, that beyond even points and rebounds and whatnot, there's people that were pioneers for building the women's basketball program at Marywood University. And I think that the success that they have in the here and now, or that they have had over the last few years, come from players like yourself. And I can name a bunch of other players from Marywood that have done the same thing. So I want to thank you for your love for the game. I want to thank you for your respect of the game and of your teammates, your consummate professionalism. And I want to thank you for deciding to be a coach and having the opportunity to mold young minds and pay it forward, because you can tell somebody loves something and truly respects it and appreciates what it can be as a vehicle when they go through and they drive in that vehicle, and then they become the person that buys that vehicle for somebody else and sits in the passenger seat and helps them learn how to drive. So thank you for teaching student athletes how to drive. I truly respect that.
I appreciate it very much. Always do.
So that coming from Caitlin Hodge Mihalis. We're watching the games tonight. We'll be talking with Hodge, I'm sure, very soon. Hodge, have a good rest of your day, and go basketball tonight.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care. That coming from Caitlin Hodge Mihalis here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, a.k.a. Hodge, where sports meets life. We're going to take our final step aside on today's show to wrap things up, and we'll be back right after this awesome fast break from our partners in Central and Upstate New York, getting you ready for what's to come.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. We appreciate GG Cards and Breaks right off of Teal Ave for being open for us sports card and trading card collectible fans every single day of the week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Find your way over to GG Cards and Breaks for hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, all sport, AEW, UFC cards while supplies last. You can also find Disney Lorcana and Pokemon cards on site, as well as some Marvel cards, new and from our past. You can find so many things. I can't say enough. I really honestly can't, because Josh Gideon and Anthony Campbell and the team, they just do things differently. To me, it's not a sports card shop. It's the sports card shop. It's the trading card shop. They care so much about the product that they get in. They listen to the people that come in. And they work so tirelessly, fighting in battles you don't even see, to get stuff on the shelves, to be something special, right? Because you can go to a big box store and you can do this and that, but those people, 9 times out of 10, they don't know about the cards. 9 times out of 10, there's nobody there to help you. 9 times out of 10, they haven't opened those boxes and celebrated that. They're just selling something in the store with a million other things. At GG Cards and Breaks, they're selling cards. At GG Cards and Breaks, they want to connect with you. They want to know you. They want to know what you care about, the teams that you love, the players that you love, who you're looking for. It matters to them. And in less than a year of working with them in partnership, it's the only place I go. If I'm out of town, I will literally say to myself, like, I can't wait to go home and I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to talk to them about this. When I'm out of town, I'll FaceTime them and be like, look what I just got in this pack or this box or whatever. Look what I just found. There's something different about GG Cards and Breaks. And I ask you to go inside and experience exactly what that is. Caring, hardworking, determined people that are doing something for the love of it, that live in it every single day, all throughout the day. I have the utmost respect for Josh and Anthony, and that's why I tell you to go to GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They brought out the little kid in me, and they helped me to have something I didn't think I'd ever have again that I had when I was a kid. And they gave my mom and I the opportunity to make memories in a sports card shop like we used to do when I was a little kid. I'm 38. When I was 10, my mom and I had these memories of going to the sports card shop growing up. GG Cards and Breaks brought that back to me more than 2 decades later. Let them bring it to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, we appreciate you being here, as always, on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once the show goes live, it hops into the archive, and you'll find it on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Make sure to follow and subscribe to us on these channels so that you will be notified when we put shows into the archive. Big time thanks to our incredible partners that you can visit in Central and Upstate New York. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, GG Cards and Breaks, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, and Mother's Cupboard. And of course, at Carvel DeWitt, you can get the DT Dolphin, my own signature sundae, exclusively down the road from Lemoyne at 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York, at Carvel DeWitt. It's called the DT Dolphin, and it's available 7 days a week all throughout the year. And at Mother's Cupboard, speaking of 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily, you can get the Cuse McMother on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. My signature sandwich, only at Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. Get it today. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. It is better than it sounds, which sounds impossible, but it's not. And so many people can speak to that truth. The Lemoyne College Dolphins are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, first and third Wednesday with AD and DT, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Get all of our content by subscribing and clicking the notification bell on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. While you're on our channel, you can also look up the Lemoyne Dolphins playlist on our YouTube channel. You can find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to lemoynedolphins.com, and as always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month where sports meets life, right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find the Bobcats here with us for men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and esports, as well as sitting down with administration throughout the wonderful, wonderful year of Bryan and Stratton College Bobcat athletics. Their student athletes, their coaches, and administration are in a truly unique experience on James Street in Syracuse, New York. I appreciate them tremendously, and they have been hidden gems. I don't want to hide them, and that's why we talk to them and celebrate them here on the show. You can find all our content on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and the notification bell. Find the BSC Syracuse playlist on our YouTube channel. You can also go to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and to the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And as always, go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats during Bearcat Time every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year in what we call the Bearcat Break Room, and finding monthly broadcasts with Athletics Director of Binghamton University, Gene Marshall, in what we call Moments with Marshall. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. is Bearcat Time, and you'll find Moments with Marshall in the Bearcat Break Room every single month, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe and the notification bell. Find our Binghamton University playlist, and of course you can find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on the show, inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com is what's popping. By the way, it was popping at Ma and Pa's just a few days ago. When I went in there to shoot some video and do some more stuff for Easter, there was a giant just influx of people coming in. I came in there was one person in, and then it was just people. So thank you so much for supporting local. I hope you got some awesome treats from Ma and Pa's for Easter for yourself and your loved ones on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Pop in there today and show them some love. And we appreciate you as always. Big shout out to the Bell family, to JoJo and the entire staff at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Big time shout out to Brendan Murphy for joining me for DT and Murphy, talking Major League Baseball, the NFL, as well as show and tell with GG Cards and Breaks, bringing you our show and tell. And of course, a big time thanks to my co-host for the Serial Combo, Caitlin Hodge Mahalis, joining me to speak on the 2024 Division I Women's Basketball Tournament, and of course being on site in Albany just a couple days ago for the tournament itself. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I hope you enjoy watching the last two Elite Eight games for women's basketball, and have a great baseball season. A lot of great stuff coming up. I appreciate you. Happy April Fool's Day. I do like to play pranks, so I might have a trick up my sleeve today. Happy April Fool's Day. God bless March, and may here in April be even better, safer, healthier, and happier. God bless you all. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. He is risen.